Well, everyone, welcome back. I'm sure you've heard by now, it's been, talked about on many channels, on many mediums, about this pre-fight party that Daniel Dubois had, hosted by Stan Dubois. Stan Dubois' idea, apparently. Apparently, Daniel Dubois didn't even know all the people at this party. There's video online of Daniel Dubois having photos and people taking selfies with him. And although he's smiling in a lot of these bits of video, he doesn't look completely 100% comfortable with it all, if I'm honest. There are reports that Daniel Dubois was asking permission to go for a drive so he could escape some of the chaos. And essentially, I'm not sure that he really wanted to be there, or not for that sort of length of time. The thing with parties is you can have one party one time and it can last into the next day, or you can have a party that can last a couple of hours and everyone flits off. Sort of by definition of a party, you never really know how that's going to go and how long it's going to run and who's going to be there and what's going to be said and what sort of vibe is. But I know Daniel Dubois has said that the one before the Joshua fight, it was a good energy. This will be a good energy. It is just shocking on the face of it. And then we go to the corner in the fight where you had Stan Dubois jumping up, and Daniel Dubois seems brainwashed into just focusing on Stan Dubois first before anybody else. Stan Dubois takes priority. There does seem to be, to me, Stan Dubois does display the traits of grandiose narcissism, for want of a better word. Even when you had John Fury in the corner with Tyson Fury and Andy Lee, and much was made of that, at least John Fury, for all his piss and wind, is a genuine boxing man. Say what you like about him, he is. It's in the culture. Good friends of mine are travellers. It's in the culture from when you're a kid. Can you say the same about Stan Dubois? I mean, we saw the sort of the pandemonium it caused with John Fury in the corner, and that is a genuine boxing man. Like I said, whether you like him or disagree with him and get what he says or not, that's a genuine man from a genuine fighting background. It may mean maybe not the true fighting man he said, but nonetheless, Stan Dubois, I would guess, even less so. There aren't many father-son or even father-child, because Caroline Dubois has now distanced herself from the Dubois, for essentially because of Stan, I think. And she sort of pretty much said so herself. So it's very rare that you get, a situation with the Mayweathers where even that wasn't all smooth sailing. But, the likes of Enzo and Joe Calzaghe, that doesn't come along every time. When it does work, it works sublimely, as it did with Enzo and Joe Calzaghe. But here's Talk Sport, and listen to what Joseph Parker and Lawrence Okolie had to say.
What would you? Because there's a lot of noise coming out about the preparation that Daniel had on Saturday, and the idea. This is what I've heard, and I wonder what your reaction to it was. There was a party at Daniel Dubois' house, ordered by his father, with about 70 people at the house.
The day of.
The afternoon of. The afternoon
was
of.
Daniel there?
Yes.
Was Daniel there?
And the people that were there were not known to Daniel, to such a point that Daniel actually asked his father if he could go out for a drive because he didn't know anybody there.
That is insane. Sorry.
And then beyond that, you'll see footage of it. The entourage, this party that Daniel doesn't seem to know anybody of, were all coming to the fight, but they weren't allowed in the arena. And so on the way in, they're being asked by security as to the reasons why they come in, and Daniel is being stopped and told, I think his father told security that unless you let these guys in, he's not fighting.
Oh, that is sorry.
How disruptive.
That is a different story altogether. That is insanely disruptive. Wow.
I mean, we're talking about fighters being regimental on the day and superstitious on the day, and some fighters want to wear a ring in their laces and all that sort of stuff. And it all has to be on point for you to go in there, because, like you say, any little thing can throw you off track.
That is not a little thing.
Could you imagine? No, can you imagine going through that?
Yeah. No. And the problem is, it's coming from someone that he looks out of the ring. When they're talking, it's coming from his dad. Obviously, I've trained with him. His dad's a huge part of his life. So that is obviously going to be disruptive.
Are you surprised by this, Joe?
I am very surprised. I'm shocked that you can have that.
So as you can see, the dismay and the disbelief with Joseph Parker and Lawrence Okolie at what they heard, they were in total disbelief. The fact that it seems like Daniel Dubois now has a crocodile. And if you remember back in the day, Mike Tyson had a chap called Crocodile. He was his what they call it, his hype man. And Crocodile would walk at the front of the entourage. He would walk going into the ring, shouting off his stuff. Crocodile used to wear the fatigues and everything. And And Daniel Dubois has that now, seemingly. Daniel Dubois just isn't that character. Joe Stunner sort of made the comment a few times that Daniel Dubois, he just kind of like to give off this sort of persona of a bit of a roadman now. And he's not really not. Daniel Dubois is kind of a quiet kid. Is Daniel Dubois even 100% fighter? He's a fighter through and through. The man's been in there and he's had some wars. He is a fighter, but he's not a fighter on the level of, with the mentality on the level of your Usyks or your Furies or that sort of stuff. But as fighters, it goes like this. When Customato said about getting hold of a fighter like Mark Tyson, he said, they come to me with a spark and I feed that spark and I make a flame and I feed that flame and I turn that into a roaring blaze. It's kind of a chain reaction of confidence and ability and then success. That can work in the opposite direction when it comes to negativity and doubt. And fighters, there's not many fighters I haven't known that haven't had some kind of ritual. Depending on whether the time you get to the venue, what you do when you get in the dressing room, how you do, which hand you get wrapped first, little ways you do things. And if one of these is off kilter, if one of these is not where you want it to be mentally, you've got your plan in your head, your itinerary in your head of how this is going to go from the morning I get up, from what time I have a little something to eat, what times I go to the toilet. It really does go that deep. And I think a lot of people don't know. A lot of you guys are all very, very astute boxing fans, so you all know this. But when you're doing something that you probably given a choice you wouldn't be doing, and then they arrive late at the venue, so now you're the plan that you have in your head, and if it's a really professional team, these things are really pre-planned. It's a logistical, almost military operation. But when one thing goes wrong, when one thing isn't quite right where you want it mentally, from a chronological point of view, whatever, that can spark a chain reaction of doubt. Because it's as I said, that spark that turns into a flame goes both ways. And if a little spark of doubt sets in, that can have a chain reaction onto the next thing. And in your head will manifest that into something that's not. And it can have a dramatic effect. Anthony Joshua arrived late for the Dubois fight, very late. And yes, Joshua had done all the technical things wrong. But certainly arriving late, not getting warm, not getting comfortable, not getting your hands done when you want to, not getting the gloves on, not loosening up, not getting on the pads, not getting up to that physical level where you want to be. You don't want to go into the ring cold. Anthony Joshua did. That was evident. So there are so many things, but a party, it just stinks of Stan Dubois. A, running the show completely and utterly, and B, just displaying the traits, as I said, grandiose narcissism. What else do you call it? If you're calling the shots and you're not really the boxing person, you're not the trainer. You're not the trainer, you're the father. But when you think you're the show and when you think you control the show, that's only ever destined to end one way. And that is in what we saw on Saturday night, in disastrous defeat. You have to know, and you'll never know this if you're a narcissist. If you're a narcissist, the inability to recognize you can do anything negative or have any negative effect is impossible, alien to you. You couldn't recognize it if you wanted to. And this just seems to be the case with Stan Dubois. And, I was critical of Daniel Dubois on Saturday night for the technical things that were wrong. But part of me feels, sorry for Daniel Dubois in the sense that, does this guy really want to be where he wants to be? Does this guy really want to be having this career in the way that he's having this career? So much of this seems forced by Stan Dubois. And I just think when you look at the things they're doing, when you look at the things that Stan Dubois is doing or seemingly making Daniel do and go through, when you look at the reactions of other fighters, and we're not talking about fighters, we're talking about Joseph Parker, we're talking about Lawrence Okoli, and say what you want about Lawrence Okoli. But in contrast, if you look at Joseph Parker's team, there are family members and friends in there. But you can see there's absolute harmony in Joseph Parker's camp. Everyone in Joseph Parker's camp is there at the service and to do good by Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker always looks in the most serene headspace possible. And a lot of that is down to he's got the right people around him with the right intentions in place. And that's it. But when you look at that, and you look at a party, and then certainly you would have a a strict, what happens in this party is behind closed doors. You do not put this on social media. This does not get shared. It just stinks of an absolute fucking amateur shambles. And at the head of it is Stan Dubois. I'll see you all soon.